Thank you joining us on our maiden voyage of Last Radius podcast, right?
Yeah, right.
We're here tonight on a stormy afternoon with your four anonymous moderators, anonymous, but definitely not oblivious to today's topic. So basically what we do here is we talk about anything under the sun, important topics, issues that affect our daily lives, and pretty much we give our comments on it. It's the most politically incorrect podcast that you will have or you'll be able to listen to this day and age. So thank you for joining us, and if you have any comments, please place your comments down below.
Alright, so I think let's introduce each other. Una-una, ang host mo natin si Mr. H. And then ako si Mr. E. Kasama po natin ngayon si J and si OG para sa ating discussion for...
By the way, Mr. OG or the OG over here happens to be our legal expert. So
yes.
At least it brings some validity to whatever we're talking about when it has something to do about legal issues. So if anybody has like legal questions, you can feel free to ask DOG for
si OG na to, parang si mas parang to si Ernie Baron lahat na ito.
Si Ernie Baron. So nagsamang kuya Kim at Ernie Baron.
Manis.
Hindi pala nito, daming parang computer to, gano'n.
Alright.
So Mr. H, start na ba tayo?
Yeah, so let's talk about the latest and the most important national topics that are affecting our nation today. All of these articles that we're going to be discussing about is brought to you by gnews.ph. It's the fastest growing and most reliable news source and news curator in the Philippines today. So we'd like to show a shout out to gnews.ph for providing all of the day-to-day articles that we're going to be discussing, because in this day and age of digital technology, you can't just rely on one particular website. It's important that we get the best of every reliable news website possible. And, for everybody who's on the go, everybody who needs their news quickly, gnews.ph is
so it's actually, sabi ng ating producer, it's gnewsph.com. So gnews.ph.com. It's a news curation website. So para silang news aggregator, in-aggregate nila, and at the same time meron silang mga kinocurate na news para sa inyo.
And rest assured, all of these articles are all fake news free, and they've all been vetted and
yes okay. They are in fact. Anyway, mag-start na po tayo. Ang sabi ng producer natin, first topic to discuss is yung COVID quarantine. So, ano bang masasabi niyo dyan tungkol dun sa quarantine natin yan na nag-start ng March? Yung una, di ba? ECQ. And then yung GCQ na sa Metro Manila. Sa ibang places, MGCQ na. So, ano bang masasabi natin? Ano ba tingin niyo sa results ng lockdowns natin? Nag-work ba siya? Kung i-compare mo ba siya sa mga ibang bansa, effective ba siya? Mr. J, ano bang tingin mo dyan sa...
Siyempre, effective yan. Kasi if you look at the other side, if kung hindi ka mag-mask or mag-quarantine, it could have been worse. Although, siyempre, hindi natin alam. The thing is, it's a measure that needs to be done. Otherwise, it could have really been worse. So, we really don't know because we can't say. But fact is, COVID is actually like flu, di ba? So, kung flu yan, saan ibig sabihin nun? The more you go out, talaga mahahawa ka pag may sakit ka, just like ordinary flu.
Tama. So, parang lumalabas kasi, di ba, unique siya eh. Parang hindi napaghandaan ng actually, ng buong mundo kung paano i-handle tong pandemic na to na tinatawag nila. So, I think yung response is talagang ganun. Actually, kung isipin mo, kailangan medyo authoritarian yung response mo dyan para kaya nga nag-lockdown sila. Yung iba naman, syempre...
Kasi if you look at it, during the start, hindi mo alam kung ano siya eh. But now that we know better, ang dami ng lumabas na studies at pag-aaral, let's put it this way, hindi naman siya ganun ka-fatal. Di ba?
Yes.
Compared to, let's say, other, kasi, 1%, 2% death mortality rate is really very low.
Ang sabi nga nila, the grandma killer. So, mga grandparents mo, yung pinaka-delikado sila.
Yes.
Pag tinamaan ka na itong COVID na to. In fact, sabi nga nila, malaking chance mong mamatay.
Yeah,
Tanda ka na, at the same time, meron kang comorbidities, like may diabetes ka, may problema ka sa response ng system.
Hypertension, of course. Siyempre, medyo delikado ka. Pero,
obesity, malaki rin yun.
Ayun, so, mukhang kalahati sa atin dito, delikado na.
So, yan. Ikaw, Mr. H, ano bang tingin mo dun sa...
From a personal standpoint, I think, siguro, I guess the government is doing the best it possibly can because it's an unknown factor. Na talagang manibago. The reason why it's a pandemic in the first place because the entire world was caught off guard. We didn't know how to respond right away.
Yes.
So this was merely, the best efforts, kumbaga, yan nangyari. And,
pero best efforts. Pero hindi rin eh. Kasi, pag sinabi mo best efforts, parang tanggapin na natin kasi ganyan yan, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So, there has to be, people can still do more. Yun yung gusto ko rin sabihin.
You're right. Definitely, people can do a lot more, and especially now with the new studies that have come in. But it's just like, if we take a historical journey, like let's say the last pandemic was during the Spanish influenza right after World War I, right? How many lives were lost? How did it affect the people? And has globalization made the pandemic even more widespread? Yeah. Right? Definitely. Definitely. Now that we're globally one people, and that transportation, going from one country to the next is as easy as booking a ticket, you would see that the spread of these illnesses are a lot faster. But with regard to the question, has the government's steps to try and curb COVID-19 been effective? I would say that their best efforts have shown some fruition, pero they could have done a lot more. A lot more lives could have been saved. But we shouldn't fucking blame the government in totality for the whole.
More on, I think, hypotheticals na kasi yung pinag-uusapan natin.
Because we really don't have the figures.
We can do more, pero
we don't have the
figures. When I say you can do more, it's not really about, people should just wear masks every time or be more careful. It's really how the government responds. That's what I'm trying to say. Kasi, madali kasi sabihin na, wala na magagawa natin. Pwede totoo. Kasi, if you look at, let's say, yung response ng Taiwan, response ng Korea, although they're first world countries, it's very difficult to compare. But tingnan mo sila, they hardly did lockdowns. Their economies, of course.
Yeah, yung Sweden is an example din, di ba?
So the lockdown really wasn't. So do you think the contact tracing would have been a more effective solution?
Sinasabi ko actually that
I agree with you.
It would have been more effective, and in fact, technology could have played a better part, di ba? Kasi it would have been easier kung umpisa pa lang, inayos na nila yung pag-contact trace eh. Sana hindi na kumalat na ganyan. But then again, hindsight na yan. So that's what I'm trying to say. Yung response kasi natin needs a lot more. Kumbaga, hindi lang basta-basta.
Siguro natuto na siguro tayo dito from this experience.
Natuto tayo eh.
Sana. Ayun ang hope natin. Kasi palagi.
I seriously doubt that. I can say from a personal perspective, I know a family whose both of their parents were hit by COVID-19, and one of them didn't survive, and their children weren't even tested.
Yeah.
They weren't even tested. They weren't even approached or asked by the Luckin department to have themselves tested or to place.
Ito yung natawag nilang amateur hour.
Amateur hour talaga. That's how this played out. Of course, ang daling sabihin, pero we can look at other examples eh.
Okay. Right. Ako, tingin ko dyan, mixed bag eh. So, hindi natin masabi talaga kung anong solusyon. Kasi
actually, walang solusyon.
Variety of solutions na and approaches na ginawa sila. For example, Sweden, yung Argentina at Peru, total lockdown, pero yung cases nila, ganun pa rin, nalalagdagan, same rate. So, ang hirap magsalita Ang hirap sabihin until we get all the details, all the facts, all the science. Kasi ngayon, hodgepodge to ng mga...
Wala talagang solution. But the only way we can do is to follow the example of those that have been successful. So, you look at Korea, Taiwan, even Sweden, they were successful.
Vietnam was successful.
Vietnam was successful. So, yun yung ano doon. It's not about... talaga, it's a new thing for everybody.
Pinapanood niya ako sa YouTube yung isang gabi, parang nakita mo ng Thailand, gigimik na nga sila, yung mga nightclub na.
Ayun.
Sabihin, maganda rin yung response nila, di ba?
Correct. I think so. Ang ano kasi, yung sa start kasi yung problema we just did lockdowns without really doing contact tracing.
That was the best. I mean, it was like an extreme thing to do. Was it legal though? Why don't we ask our in-house legal beagle, VOG? Do you think like the lockdowns are actually legal, depriving our fellow citizens of their of their right to travel, their right to?
Well, there's always the police power of the state, no? The state can always limit the liberties of the citizen.
In what situations? Diba, I mean, may specific situations.
COVID pandemic is, I think, a valid reason for the exercise of police power in limiting the civil liberties of the people.
Yeah, parang grant ng constitution yan ng attorney. Parang, syempre, parang protector of the state ka. Social contract mo with the state. So, parang may rights ka na binibigay in a sense.
But what if these particular rights actually go against each other directly? For example, okay, your right to health, or your right to a healthy environment, but the thing is, at the same time, your right to earn a daily wage is also affected by the same thing. So, I mean, okay, fine, you're trying to save my life, so but at the same time, you're depriving me to create a life for my...
So, parang siguro dapat may compromise doon, di ba? Happy compromise.
Finding balance, like, meron namang work from home, na hindi mo na kailangan lumabas.
Paano yung mga trabahador na hindi pwede work from home? Those who don't work within the new digital age, wherein you can easily take home all of your workload and just submit it via email or via the internet. Paano yung mga trabaho na talagang kinakailangan na physical contact, katulad ng mga entertainment? If you think about it, something that requires physical activity, katulad ng mga masahista. You can't work from home. You can't do a massage via the internet, right?
It's to be expected that those type of livelihoods will be the first one to be affected, considering the spread of the virus is
physical interaction.
Yeah, dependent on physical contact, etc. So I think it's still valid to limit contact, to stop the spread of the virus.
Pero meron akong nabasa natawa ako nag-check ako ng Twitter. Sabi ng isang tweet. So, sabi niya na itong COVID daw actually parang itong panahon na to yung nangyari, yung panahon na nag-COVID, yung middle class daw, tsaka syempre mga mayayaman, ito yung panahon na nagtago sila habang yung mga nasa workforce natin, labor force natin, sila yung nagtrabaho, di ba, kahit na may COVID, habang tayo, mga middle class, tsaka upper middle class, nagtago dahil natakot tayo habang yung mga tao na yung mga daily laborers nagtatrabaho araw-araw para
it was like a ghost town, like nobody was out there, remember? And then like you were only one person per household was allowed to go out to buy immediate needs. I mean, I saw that for a fact. I mean, it was literally a ghost town. Even the quality of air was like improved, everything. I mean, traffic, like going from QC to Makati was like...
Ito, actually, nahanap ko na. Sabi nito, there was never any lockdown. There was just middle class people hiding while working class people brought them things. Actually, poignant. So, ayan, anyway, pag-usapan naman natin ulit yun sa next as we learn more things.
So let's go to the next our next political section. Let's talk about our Philippine elections. I mean, that's still almost a year and a half away, right?
Yeah, pero malamang, kampanya lang yan. By March, April, itong 2021, mag-start na yun. Laman naman tayo dito sa natin.
Yeah, Congress, Senate, presidential votes. I think what's important about the upcoming elections is how are we going to expect our citizenry to cast their vote nowadays? I mean, are we going to allow online voting because of the pandemic? Because we have to assume, I mean, let's assume COVID is still with us
So parang US, parang mail-in ballots, papayag kaya sila, absentee voting, etc.
We're already doing that right now for the overseas workers, right? We're already accepting votes. Why can't we create a larger niche for that? For example, para sa ating mga senior citizens and people with disabilities, so that they don't have to go and get into the flow of casting their vote.
Pwede siguro yan, maski yung COMELEC na lang, padala siya ng tao sa certain areas na kailangan.
We will be creating jobs. We have COMELEC go to these areas and
they collect the votes. They get the votes from you. Parang security.
I don't know. I just don't trust COMELEC.
Hirap pag ito wala ng gobyerno natin after
I don't fucking trust COMELEC.
So,
I mean, there's so much shit that is good.
Yeah, pero kung may idea, isipin ko, lang. Total, nasa tayo eh. Nasa electronic era na tayo, pati lang tayo gumamit ng blockchain sa pagboto. Kasi at least secure yun.
What is blockchain? Maybe Ethan can like...
Blockchain, it's basically an electronic contract. It's a contract between you and someone which basically erases the middleman. So lahat yung mga transactions mo through the blockchain is
between you,
secure, safe, anonymous. Yun yung idea. Pero I'm not sure if it's still anonymous right now. Since surveillance state na nga tayo, lahat ng galaw natin sa monitor ng China, US. So, I'm not sure. Pero yun nga yung idea ng blockchain. It's a contract and it's an electronic.
But right now, blockchain is the best protection that people can probably have.
Yes.
Or people could avail of if they want to transact online.
Yes. Yung nakita natin yan, di ba yung uso, pag nakita mo sa Facebook, yung mga cryptocurrencies.
Do you trust blockchain?
Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Do you trust like 100%? Do you trust blockchain?
For voting purposes, yes.
You would.
Yes. I would recommend it to the government.
For monetary,
monetary transactions, also yes. I've been using it since
2000.
So
you are a proponent of the blockchain. What do you call that? Is that like a program? Is it like an app? What do you call blockchain? Is it like a software? What is it? It's a mode or a medium of transacting online?
Yeah, basically yes. It's how do I describe this? It's actually, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, that it's basically an electronic contract, which basically settles accounts, settles agreements, and you can use that. It's either as a bill, like money, and you can use it to register people, to provide them with identification, security, or whatever.
Okay.
Well, next time I'll explain it more
depth. Okay. So for those who are interested to find out what blockchain, tune into our next feature, so we can discuss it with a lot more fervor and in-depth analysis. So, what do you guys think about the upcoming congressional, Senate, and presidential elections? Do you think, how do you think the people are going to vote this time? Is it really going to make any difference? Do you think that those who they vote into Congress now is really going to depend on how they voted on a lot of important issues, like for example the ABS-CBN issue? do you think that's really going to affect how people elect there? Because admittedly, like what happened to ABS-CBN, the entire country, like the Philippines, they were the ones who actually felt the brunt of the disadvantage, because sometimes all they get, like for example, from where you're from, all they get is ABS-CBN and no other channels. And the minute they lost it on free television, they lost their ability to catch their favorite shows or get the latest news, etc., etc. That must have pissed them off. Most definitely. What do you guys think? Do you think that's going to affect, or at the end of the day, ang talagang mahalaga pera-pera lang talaga?
I think si Big J makakasagot din kasi may experience to sa ABS-CBN. I think it's somewhat related to
ABS-CBN?
One of the owners.
He's related to one of the owners of ABS-CBN.
So,
did you fuck one of the owners of ABS-CBN? But how are you related? Are you by consanguinity?
You share the same last name, but that's it.
Okay.
So, anong tingin mo doon, Big J, tungkol dun sa ABS-CBN issue? Ano ba tingin mo? May na-deprive ba na rights na yung freedom of speech daw ng mga tao?
Kasi kung di-deprive yung freedom of speech, di wala na media talaga whatsoever, di ba? Sila lang yung tinanggalan dahil hindi sila sumunod they were asked to renew their franchise. Sila dapat mag-renew ng franchise nila.
Sila, responsibilidad nila yan, di ba?
Precisely. Diba?
Kaya nga, yung mga narinig ko actually, sabi nila na may chance sila ng time.
Chismis na.
May time sila gawin yun.
During the time of Pinoy.
Pero
Pinoy was fucking pissed at them.
Ganun ba?
Apparently, alright. This is what I'm getting. Like, this is alright. Let everybody be forewarned.
It could be true, di ba?
Yeah, it could be true.
So, Duterte, obviously, pissed sa kanila. So, totoo na yan. Kasi hindi na chisme yan, di ba? But the point really is, responsibility nila para ayusin yan. Hindi yan dahil sa freedom of the press or wala. Talagang hindi lang nila ginawa yung part nila, di ba?
So, exaggeration na ang tingin mo na pag yung propaganda nila yan, di ba?
Dito sa... just like everything else dito sa Pilipinas, pagka nang inapi ka, may rason ka. Kaya natalo ka sa eleksyon. Ano bang sasagot ng mga Pilipino?
Sa bagay, tayo mga Pilipino ang pinaka-reklamador sa buong. Hindi tayo pumapahayag yun.
Kaya natalo ka sa eleksyon. Ang sagot mo, hindi ka naman natalo dinaya ka, di ba? Tapos pag may lumabas na kwento sa'yo, sagot mo
hindi ka naman nanalo, nandaya ka. So you never won, you never lost.
So this is outcome losers. Yan naman sinasabi natin.
So, the point is, yung responsibility na dapat dyan is sa kanila pa rin, di ba? I assume dapat, ako personally, dapat nirenew yung franchise nila. Yun yung sabi ng mga congressman, they have the right to do that. Kasama yung sa
so, they pay the price basically sa kakulangan nila sa...
They pay the price or they didn't pay the price enough.
Yun. Kasi, kung isipin mo, alam naman natin, hindi naman tayo siguro kailangan pa magagawan dito, di ba? Siyempre, meron yung payula sigurado sa Congress na hindi siguro naibigay.
Tsaka may hinanakit. Alam mo yung mga congressman na yan, may hinanakit yan sa ABS. Kasi in fairness naman, ABS has a tendency to sensationalize a lot of news bits. I mean, like, even if it's not actually this particular sensationalized thing, in order to make it more juicy and more acceptable to the public, so that the people will really just grab onto it.
So, kung translate mo rin sa modern life natin, para siyang clickbait, lahat clickbait na.
Yeah, definitely.
Ganun namin news ngayon eh. Kasi actually, it's a very competitive market. Yung paggawa ng news, siguro, kailangan mo talagang sensationalize lahat eh. Di ba?
But that's the thing. A lot of people, even though they don't fall victim to the clickbait, sensationalize the headlines, the minute they read the headline, they already come up with their own kind of, opinion saying, this happened. And then that creates fake news. I mean,
kasi parang, ang tingin ko dyan, parang sa sobrang daming information na pumapasok sa atin, hindi natin nagagawa yung usual due diligence natin na binabasa yung news.
Read the entire
news. Tayo, headline na lang. Kasi ang daming information na pumapasok eh.
Which is important that we should rely on websites like G-News.
Yeah.
that really know and understand what's important for people who don't have the time or the patience to read throughout all of these other news media websites. You gotta go look for a reliable
News source.
And I can say for a fact that GNewspH.com is the best website to go to when you want accurate, reliable, and true to the fact news articles.
Minamadali niya tayo ng producer natin. Okay, so discuss na lang last is sino sa tingin niyo ang tatakbong presidente sa 2022?
Ng Pilipinas?
Kasi matatapos na yung term ni Duterte, di ba? Marami nang nag-jockey ng position dito kasi nung
Kanye West is apparently is applying for Filipino citizenship and wants to run for the fucking president of the Philippines.
He's wrong. Pero sinong bet mo?
Right now, I seriously do not have a bet. For me, I think it's still too early in the game. Like, remember, like the last presidential elections? When did President PRDD come out? He came out in the last part, and he was like, he wasn't even considered. He wasn't even a dark horse. I mean, people were like, what the fuck? Where is he coming from? Like, it's like he pulled the fucking elephant out of his ass, and then all of a sudden became the front runner, just like that. Because I guess the people were sick of the typical, the typical.
Matagal na natin tinatawag, trapo. Di ba? Traditional politicians.
But wouldn't you consider PRDD a trapo because he's been in the game for like the longest time as well in local politics? I mean, what makes him any different from all the other politicians? Seriously.
Well, yun nga, gaya ng sinasabi ko, yung problema natin sa gobyerno natin, dahil nga masyado na tayong malambot because of modernism, etc. Naghahanap tayo ng authoritarian leadership. So, I think yun yung pinubay ni Duterte na bilang padre de pamilya na sasabihin niya, bibigyan niya ng gabay. Siguro doon na yung tao na parang merong take charge kind of guy na alam mo yun na...
What about the younger generation? A lot of people are although it was President Duterte that actually trailblazed the way to look into the local scene, like the local mayors and see how well they would run their local community. So right now you have several young upcoming politicians who
taga Manila at taga Pasig.
Let's
I think pwede siyang vice president pero kung presidente kaagad itong 2022.
It's a bit too early. What about Vico?
What about hindi abot si Vico Soto.
That's right, he's still too young. So maybe he should just stick to finishing off his remaining 2 terms in Pasig.
Yes.
Maybe run for the Senate and then opt for
Pwede, basta tuloy-tuloy na yung gandang pinapakita.
But I mean, this is something, this is refreshing because at least you have alternative politicians like who can actually show the voting public that your votes actually make a difference if you take them seriously, right? Na parang, na you're not just limited to the typical trapos, na there's a possibility na baka sakali na magbago rin.
Kasi baka sakali.
Yan na nga, diba?
Pero I think kung titignan mo si Vico Soto more on transparency, accountability, nakita mo yung ginagawa niya. Malinaw, Ventas Claras, parang ganun yung impression na nakukuha ko sa kanya. So,
what about Bongbong Marcos?
Future Bongbong Marcos?
Do you think he has a shot at the presidency?
Tatakbo siya.
As president?
Ito tatakbo siya. Siguro mga kalaban niya, Pacquiao, Sara Duterte. Pero pag silang tatlo, maghahatian sila ng...
Maghahatian sila ng boto.
So baka malaki chance manalo ng Liberal Party pag mag-agawan silang tatlo. Kaya kailangan siguro mag-run off silang tatlo. Tapos Villar pa pala. Di ba si Villar medyo Duterte adjacent yan So
what about the current vice president? What about
Lenny?
Do you think she has a chance, or anybody Do you think anybody...
I think sa social media, sobrang lakas niya.
Really?
Oh, pero I think hindi na nag-translate kung ano sa social media sa totoong buhay kasi ibang tao masyadong busy sa trabaho nila, etc. para pansinin ko ano nakikita sa social media eh.
But it was social media that was a defining factor for Duterte's presidency. I mean, social media made a huge impact on how he became president. Don't you guys agree? Like, I mean, Big J, what do you think?
Well, it works both ways kasi wala bang troll yung kalaban.
Wala nga eh. Not as many. I mean, the best funded.
It's more like na natuto na yung mga tao. So, kung may troll ka, may troll din ako.
So it's not going to work as well as it did during the last election.
It's not gonna work. And for me kasi yung lalabas lang, kung sino na yung sa social circles mo rin. Di ba? So kung ako, for example.
Who would you vote for though, Big J? I mean personally, like, right now, if the elections were today.
Kung tumakbo ganito, let's say, Pacquiao, Marcos, Robredo, Sara Duterte, sino piliin mo dun sa apat?
Hindi ko masabi talaga. I can't say at this moment simply because
if I had a fucking gun to your head right now, I'm gonna fucking blow off your goddamn brains and vote for goddamn one of the people that we just mentioned. Who would you vote for right now?
Ay, sabihin ko si ano na siguro. Hindi ko pa rin masabi.
Atay ka lang.
What about the OG? My gun is now pointed to your fucking balls, and then you have 30 seconds to decide who the fuck would you vote for if today was the election.
It's too early to say. You don't know the platform. You don't know the what reforms are they going to push.
That's what you would tell the motherfucker holding a gun to your balls. That's what you would tell him. Like, it's too early to fucking say, so we don't ask me a different question. Is that, damn, you have got cojones on you.
You are asking our opinion on who is going to win. That's what you're asking.
Not who's going to win.
Asking us who are you
going to win. I'm asking not who's going to win. I'm asking who would you vote for if you were given a choice right now. Like
I would vote for the one who has the best platform. We don't know what they are going to run for.
Obviously, the platform.
So we can decide.
Of PRDD would definitely be the same platform of
Sara,
right?
yeah.
Manny Pacquiao would probably go for
what platform?
his war on illegal drugs, his war on transparency, his war on creating an atmosphere for business to run freely.
The regulation, basically.
Basically, deregulation.
Ease of doing business.
That's basically how he ran the city of Davao, and that's why it became. I guess that's why he was able to use that as a showcase of progress and prosperity, and why the Filipino people voted for him, because the frontrunner prior to PRDD was actually Binay. And Binay was doing a pretty good job with Makati. Not that he was doing a really good job, it's just that ang dami ng budget na it didn't really matter na he could run it in pretty much any way he wanted to.
Pero kung yung conservative and traditionalist ka, tingin ko mapapakyaw ko eh. Kasi
I vote for fucking Pacquiao right now. I mean, like, hands down, like, right now, I mean, he may not be the smartest, but you really have to be the smartest to be
ito kung presidente ka, ang importante dyan, magiging advisors.
Exactly. It's the people who have your ear, the people who you're going to be listening to, the people who you're going to be entrusting to run your cabinet. That's what's going to be important.
That's how the sausage is made.
So Bill, naalala mo na nagbo-boxing siya. Diba? Daming hangers on and parang secret kaya.
So yung ba yung in-expect mo yung tao sa malakas?
Yes, exactly. Yun ba yan? So nakita mo naman din, 50 yata ang entourage niya eh.
Sino pa yung mga politiko ba talaga? Si Chabi. Yan isa yun.
Hindi, kaya siguro sinasabi ni OG na gusto niya malilig muna yung mga plataforma na ito mga to.
Siguro, I'm sure.
Alam mo naman sa Rogs, classical to in a sense na...
Wala rin naman kasing plataforma yung mga presidente natin. Pare-parehas ang sinasabi nila. Makamahirap, makaano.
Of course. Parang Lenny Robredo, sabi nga ng maraming nakikita ko, mahilig daw sa motherhood statements, soundbites, etc. Kasi yun ang kumakagat sa mga tao eh, diba?
Sa lahat ng shit, pipiliin mo lang yung hindi pinakamabaho.
Ayun.
So si Pacquiao pinaka-hindi, yung talaga maniniwala ka, sa laki ng pera niya, sa yaman niya, hindi naman niya siguro...
We have no problem with Pacquiao. No? Ang problema lang kasi, there's all... hindi siya galing sa ganitong field.
Typical, yeah, exactly.
So, sino yung mga taong magiging officials natin pag siya ang naging presidente?
Ayan.
That's a problem.
That's going to be a problem. And which particular political party is he affiliated with? He's also affiliated with the Duterte administration.
Yes.
He's also a member of the PDP Laban. He is actually.
Okay lang din kung
He's actually an officer. He's actually an officer of the PDP Laban. He is like the vice chairman for his Sarangani province. And did you know that he's also acting like a traditional politician? Did you know he has two brothers who are members of Congress right now?
I didn't know that.
That totally fucking blew my mind, dudes. I mean, like,
Bali yun sila, party list?
one of them is a party list representative, and the other one is the representative from the lone district of Sarangani province. His older brother. Check it out. I mean, like, we can actually let's ask our producer to pull out his what should we call it? His
baka hindi masikaso ng producer natin dahil ginahawakan yung mic. Pero I think ganoon talaga yung politika natin, di ba? Kaya kami mga introduce sila na loob. What do you call this?
That's never gonna pass. The anti-political dynasty law.
Yeah,
that's fucking never gonna pass because it's Congress who has to pass it, and it's actually Congress who is the most guilty violators of the political dynasty war. And then a lot of people are saying political dynasties are not bad per se, as long as you know that the family that is guilty of of having several or more family members part of public service are actually performing, because at the end of the day, it's basically up to the people who vote for them. But the problem there is, at the end of the day, the people don't really have a choice, because they don't know anybody else who would be capable of providing a better alternative to those who have already been in power. And that's the sad truth or reality. So,
totoo yan. Yung political dynasties is the number one problem here in the Philippines. If you take it out, I'm sure there will be progress. Ako, yun yung tingin ko talaga. Kasi ang political dynasties, nagiging negosyo kasi ang pagiging politiko eh.
That's true.
Diba? So kung nagiging negosyo yan, yung interest mo iba na, for profit na instead of service. Diba? So pag naging profit na yan, hindi na siya legitimate na government service or So isipin mo, I think ang problem talaga sa political dynasties is yung yung parallel na politics. So, for example, ako mayor, let's say asawa ko governor, yun ang problem. I don't have an issue kung yung succession is
like the son,
yung son yung naging pumalit sa akin. That would have been, actually for me, it's not acceptable, pero pwede na.
It's tolerable.
Tolerable. Yung
parang simultaneous.
It's
just like you have a brother in as congressman, you have a sister as vice mayor.
Kahit councilor, mga ganun. Yun yung feeling ko yung problem talaga eh.
That's true.
Actually, tingin ko isang episode to kung pag-uusapan natin. Yung talagang
maybe we should invite like members of
talagang i-deep throat natin tong subject.
Alright, so let's okay.
Next topic na tayo. Kinukulit na tayo ni producer. So next ito. November, kailan ba election na ng US elections? November 4 or something. So ito, November US elections, bilisan lang natin ito. Na-discuss na natin ito last time.
During our test podcast.
Yeah, so sa November, Trump versus Biden leading the polls.
Maybe we can
same as 2016 na sinabi nila na si Clinton was leading. So
we need to ask you, for our listeners, we need to define, like, not a lot of people understand the difference between the popular vote and the electoral vote. Maybe we can ask our in-house legal beagle here. OG, can you define like the difference between what the popular vote and what the Electoral College vote actually means with regard to U.S. elections?
I have no idea.
Kasi di ba parang ang pagkakaintindi ko dito, yung US is a Republican system of government, right?
Electoral College sila. So that means
They base it on the number of the density, the state, how influential this particular state is, because in every state you can have a lot of voters. For example, in Arizona, you can have like 2 million voters there, and they're all condensed in one particular area. And it's unfair for them to take the majority of that, because if you have the popular vote, then you aren't giving every state a say. So instead of using the popular vote, they use the electoral votes, and then in order for you to reach a certain amount of votes, you have to win that particular state, and then you win the state itself for the Electoral College.
So you have to win the popular vote in the state. Win
the
Electoral College
of that state.
So the Electoral College are electors who will vote for you, representing their state.
So yung isang state has a defined number of electoral
college votes. Like for example, New York,
California, Texas, those are the bigger ones.
Ohio is one of the bigger ones. Ohio is one of the bigger ones.
Pennsylvania.
Florida is also big. So depende yan.
Yan yung mga pinagagawa ng voters.
That's why yung mga swing states sila tinatawag. Kasi even if you win a lot of states,
that doesn't mean
na nanalo ka ng Electoral College. Kasi may mga states na malaki.
Maliliit lang. Kasi meron mga 2 electoral votes.
Alaska, probably ganun, maliit yung vote.
Kasi kahit nasabihin mo, even if you only won in 5 major states, but these states brought in a lot of electoral votes, you could actually overturn that.
Yes.
So minsan sinasabi nila, it's not about kung ilan ang wala yun sa dami ng taong bumoto sa'yo.
Yes.
Ang importante, sa dami ng states at yung gaano gaano ma-influensya ang state na yun sa Electoral College.
Yes.
Okay. So sana naintindihan ng mga, kasi dito sa Pilipinas, sobrang iba yan eh. Dito, populist tayo eh. Like kung sino pinakamaraming boto. Kasi Hoda manggaling yan sa Norte, kasi Hoda manggaling sa Iloilo, kasi Hoda manggaling sa Mindanao yun.
Which I think is better, di ba?
Yeah, kaya ginagawa natin yung federalism eh. Ganun ang nangyari sa atin eh.
So, it's dapat better talaga yung popular votes. Kasi majority talaga yan eh.
Hindi, problema kasi pwedeng mag-rule sa'yo yung isang lugar na...
which is what's happening actually.
Kunwari, Cebu versus Metro Manila. Mas marami Metro Manila sa Cebu. Iba yung ano nila doon.
And then that's the problem. So, for example, you go back to the US. Ilang states po yung malalaking electoral colleges nila. So, that means California, New York, Florida, Texas. So, basically, they're the ones ruling the US. Yun na lang yung nangyari.
Yun ang ano yun natin.
Well, ibabalik mo dito sa Pilipinas, di Cebu na lang at saka NCR yung mag-ano niyan.
Pero ang point is, kung lahat naman ng propagandized, for example, sa California, lahat yun liberals. So, paano...
That's exactly the point. Kung bakit sila naman ng one man, one vote. Di ba? Popular votes. Kasi...
Papagulo lang yung Electoral College. Papagulo lang.
Kasi iba naman yung tao sa, let's say, lagay natin sa US, yung mga taga-Alaska, hindi naman sila katulad ng mga taga-California. And the same way sa Pilipinas, na kung taga-Manila ka, iba ka rin sa mga taga-Manilo.
Right. But alam mo, Big Chief, the rationale behind the creation of the Electoral College, the founding fathers of the United States were actually concerned about the advanced sense of voting intellect of the people. They did not fully believe in the people to make an intelligent
decision.
That's the same argument na binabalik sa atin. Kaya tinatawag tayong bobotante, di ba?
So dapat maging electoral college din tayo.
Another sense, bakit mo sabihin na bobo yung mga botante na yan? Dahil nakapag-aral ka, mas matalino ka sa kanila? Hindi rin eh. Diba? Because they have different needs. Yun lang yung
to put it into perspective, I think, pero kasi yung kanila parang United States yan eh. So, ibig sabihin yung kada state, parang mga countries yan eh.
Correct.
May kanya-kanya silang...
Wala. I mean, they have their own
autonomy. So, parang siguro, part ng agreement nila, nung nag-form sila ng union.
Actually, totoo yan. Kasi yung Texas actually...
Correct, diba?
At Texas actually is an independent country kung totoo simula. But they joined the union provided
Lone Star State.
Then, madiman sila.
Malaki yung ano nila. Electoral votes nila. In fact, pwede sila magsisid eh. Anytime.
Parang California, ganun din. May plano yata sila. Sabi nila, pag nanalo daw si Trump, magsisisid daw sila. So,
pero para sa atin mga Pilipino, let's put the US election in a perspective that actually affects our nation or us in general. what do you think, or who would we benefit more from in the upcoming U.S. elections? Would it be better for us Filipinos if Trump won, or would it be better for us Filipinos if Biden won? What's your take on it? Let's start with the OG, if he's still awake. What do you think? All right, while he's still thinking, let me ask Big J. Big J, who do you think the Filipino people would benefit more from?
Foreign policy to, ano?
Well, yeah, with regard to foreign policy. You think Trump would be a better president for the Filipino people?
No, of course, hindi siya natin presidente. So, he's not going to be a better president for us.
But a lot of Filipinos live in the United States. And a lot of
presidente nila yan. But what I'm trying to say is, kung ano yung pinaka may interest tayo. Kasi dapat din natin ilagay yung sarili natin.
Exactly.
Kung ano yung mga interest ng Pilipinas eh.
Saan tayo makikinabang? Pinaka-makikinabang.
Kung
Hindi pa kinabang actually. Kung ano yung interest natin. Hindi yung iba yung nakinabang ka lang.
So, ano yung tingin mong interest natin na mapoprotektahan ito?
We will be protected from China.
Yes. Kung ganun yung ano natin, doon ako sa kay Trump talaga.
Kay Trump na, because Trump has already espoused his support, or his support for protecting those who have been bullied by China.
In fact, ang basa ko nga dyan sa usap ni Trump at Duterte, baka ibigay sa atin saka sa Vietnam yung mga nag-pull out from China, yung mga US international companies.
So, mas makikinabang ang ating bansa kung si Trump ang mananalo sa tingin mo?
Pwede.
Okay. What about you? What about you? What do you think? Do you agree?
Actually, ako, in a sense, gusto ko mag-collapse yung Western Front kasi medyo, I think they've overplayed their hands in a sense na.
So it's time for the dawn of the Asian economy, of the dragon economy is coming from.
Kailangan gumising niya, Japan, China, tayo, Philippines.
Yeah, ang concern ko naman kasi sa yung ganyang point of view, kasi yung China is already in our territory.
Yeah.
So you need to have a counterbalance.
We're actually a province of China, according to some manufacturers, right? I mean, like, you'd be surprised, like, there were like several manufacturers.
Yun yung problem dyan eh. That's why you will still need yung isang malakas na foreign power.
Superpower there to
and I don't think si Biden is that person eh. Kasi,
he's too much of a pussy.
Well, not just a pussy. Ang tingin ko talaga sa kanya
Saka parang nabili niya sa China eh. Kung babasahin mo yung mga news reports na yung anak niya is getting consultants money for
so, hindi kasi lahat takot sa China eh. So, ang totoo niya, Trump is better simply because parang siya lang yung world leader na hindi takot sa China eh. Tingnan mo yung lahat. Takot sa China eh. Pati si LeBron James, takot sa China.
Seriously? LeBron James is scared of fucking China?
Diba, dami yung sinasabi.
What about MJ? You think MJ is scared of fucking so fuck LeBron then? And then we move on to our next topic. Like, who was actually the GOAT, right?
Hindi, balikan ko lang bago tayo magtapos na.
Okay.
Kasi I think yung problema rin naman natin dyan is kasalanan din ng West yan eh. Diba? Sinurrender nila yung manufacturing nila sa China eh. For cheap labor.
It was their greed that brought their own downfall. Right?
Naging madamot sila. Gusto nilang makatipid sa labor. Gusto nilang mas malaki yung margins nila.
So they created a recession in their own domestic market.
Yes.
They created a labor recession in their own domestic market because of the big companies and their greed to earn and to save an extra buck. And to try and create larger revenue by saving on what you would normally give a typical employee.
So basically, pinataba nila yung China. Now China is too big. I think their economy is bigger than the US.
It's been bigger than the US, right?
So talaga yung dependence nandun. So I think mahirapan sila.
Like if China called in all of the debts of all of the other
billions.
It's in
billions. So, ngayon, pati Africa, di ba, hawak na rin ng China. Meron na sila sariling police stations doon sa China. Sa Africa. Dahil nga meron silang mga dami yung mining rights na hawak.
Balita ko, meron din daw dito eh.
Malapit na kung gano'n. Yun ang tingin ko naman, siguro yung naging issue din kay Presidente yun, Duterte, na yung
But didn't that piss you
particular
off?
sa China.
But didn't that piss you off? Do you remember, like, way back during the presidential debates? And this is where, what's her name? Grace Poe actually lost a lot of her footing when they were all asked, like, what would you do if China all of a sudden took over? Like, what would you do? And then he said, well, I'd be the first one taking a boat straight over there, you know, defending our fucking nation. And then, like, look what happens. He ended up, you know, out, you know, like,
It's superpower na nga yung China kasi. So, I think, yung intelligence service nila, siguro nabili na lang dito yung mga politicians natin kung nabibili nga nila yung sa Amerika, di ba? Dito pa kayo sa Pilipinas.
alright, so,
So yan, pag-usapan na natin China. Actually, nadaanan na natin since topic din natin yan. Next na siguro natin, pag-usapan na rin natin to, yung ano, e-commerce. Sige, ito. Kasi crypto, gagawin ko to ng special episode para sa atin pag-usapan.
okay,
Para
why don't you just, like, wet
Yeah, so let's go sa e-commerce. So ngayon, since yun nga, naka-lockdown tayong lahat, payment facilities na ginagamit na natin yun, madalas online na, like Union Bank, GCash, Paymaya.
by the way, like, for all our listeners right now, he is actually our in-house financial expert. Because he's the richest motherfucker here right now. Anyways, no, seriously, he understands the market, he understands finance, and he's specialized in that. So if you guys need any advice or any, you know, special tips, like, he's the guy you need to listen to.
So yun nga, ang natin ngayon, e-commerce is, ito na yung start natin. Actually, nag-start na 2 years ago sa US and China. Yung paggamit nila ng internet, basically, to pay for things. So, yung pera mo nakalagay na lang sa...
Is this where blockchain comes in? Does blockchain come into the e-commerce?
Actually, magkahiwalay sila, pero I think eventually magkakaroon ng merger to. Nakikita ko sa IMF, mukhang yun ang magiging direction nila.
IMF, what is the IMF?
International Monetary Fund. So, and World Bank, in fact, marami silang mga minute na mga cryptologists and blockchain experts like Ripple na basically i-integrate nila yung treasury bills nila into the system, so blockchain system. Pero ngayon, ang nangyayari so far, e-commerce pa lang tayo. Hindi wala pang integration with blockchain to. So, kung alam nyo, kung kayo familiar, yung mga listeners natin, GCash, madalas gamitin, Paymaya, alam niyo na yan, punta kayo 7-Eleven, gamitin yung click up nyo.
How is this better than using cash? Or like, what difference is it from like your typical, yung mga ginagamit ng mga banko, yung mga debit cards? Like, how different is a GCash account different, like a Paymaya account, or all these other online?
Actually, yun yung naging problem kasi nagiging walang difference. Kasi before kasi meron. Like for example, yung sa China, actually di lang 2 years ago sa China.
Si Maya, WeChat, etc. ginagamit nila, di ba?
Well, 10 years na sila.
WeChat is like Messenger, right?
Yes.
Doesn't have to be Viber and all that.
Yeah.
Meron silang payment system na integrated.
Messaging services. They're using messaging service.
WeChat, Alipay, etc.
Yes, to send money across. So, for example, instead na nag-Viber kumari tayo or
Facebook Messenger.
Messenger. So, pwede na padala ng pera.
Actually, FB, matagal nila na pinaplano. Actually, anong pangalan yata nung nila, coin nila, Libra.
Yun yung problem sa mga
pero
GCash.
hindi pa yata na-implement eh.
Kasi naging walang difference sa banko. But before, meron. Kasi dati kasi walang fee eh. Mga transfer ka lang.
But now there's a fee.
Yeah.
How much do they charge? Does anybody know how much they actually charge? I mean, like, if you go
2% yata Gcash.
it's 2%, but you have to go over like the ceiling. There's like a ceiling amount that you can actually transact within, and they won't charge you an additional fee. Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 8,000 is like 8K a month.
Yes.
If you go above 8K, that's when they're going to start charging you 2%.
Hindi yata eh. Per transaction na yata eh. Parang,
Have they changed that?
2% per transaction.
parang ano na. Parang bangko na. So, yun yung feeling ko naging difference. Yun yung, kaya na wala ng difference.
But you know what sucks? If I can just mention this, like about banks. Sometimes BPI, why the fuck do they charge why do they charge within the same branch? If I'm going to fucking transfer money from one BPI account to another account, why are they charging me fucking 50 pesos?
Metrobank video, ganun din.
Why the fuck do they do that? And why doesn't the government fucking stop this shit?
Hindi. Kasi yun yung reason talaga. That's why e-commerce is really very important. Because you don't need to charge anything to transfer amounts.
Because it's literally free. I mean, it should be free.
Correct. So, nag-charge na sila. And tingin ko kung walang competition, it's gonna be the same. Ganun na rin. Inter-branch charges.
Basta sabi nga sa Always Sunny in Philadelphia, your ass is always going to get blasted.
Kaya actually, the best talaga dyan is...
Which is why I should always listen to Blast Radio podcast. Blast Radio podcast. Because your blasted ass is gonna be taken care of right here on Blast Radio.
Yeah, so Blast Radio, tayo yung na-blasted. Not really saying anything Actually, ang dali, well, di naman madali, pero that's the easier part. Sa China, it's not like 5 years lang. Mga 10 years, yun na yung ginagamit nila. In fact, kung may cash ka sa China, ikaw yung OP doon. Wala ka.
In fact, Korea, gano'n na rin sila. Korea, actually, mas okay sa kanila. Kasi in Japan, Korea and Japan actually are beginning to integrate crypto with their e-commerce facilities. And it's a big help kasi yung problema mo sa e-commerce ngayon yung
In fact, may mga African countries that they're not using cash
kasi yun nga, crypto na rin halos yung sa Africa by phone na lahat. Kasi nga, hirap sila mag-produce ng cash ng paper.
Ang reason dyan, medyo matindi yung inflation sa kanila. But, for example,
ano ba sa Zimbabwe ba yun? Parang 1 trillion na bill.
Ganun,
1 trillion na bill.
Isang tinapay So, alam mo,
you already sold off like Chloe, you've already sold off all of your interest in cryptocurrency, right?
No.
So, I mean, so you're saying
a lot. Still
a lot. So it isn't dead. It's still a viable source of...
It's just, what do you call this? Hinuluto pa. Kung sasabihin nga ng mga linulong Pinoy. Actually, kung first mover ka talaga, malaking advantage mo ng 2017.
Kung nauna ka talaga.
Yeah. So, kung ako, since 2012 pa ako nag-crypto, noong 2017, kung nagbenta ako, nag-sell off ako ng mga coins ko, wow, malaki-laking pera din. Pero ngayon, hintayin natin, baka bumalik Gusto ko ng mas malaking kita Kasi alam ko yung technology.
Technology improved, pero feeling ko hindi kasi marami talaga kumukontra dyan.
Sa cryptocurrency?
Ang kalaban mo kasi yung mga
the banks itself.
Kaya nga, yung sinasabi ko lately, yung development is makikita mo sa IMF at World Bank na siguro nag-lobby din tong crypto industry. Eventually, i-adapt din talaga sila.
Yes.
Kaya lang yung time frame, di natin masabi.
What I'm trying to say
speculative lahat as of this moment.
What I'm trying to say na kinukontra sila ng banks. Actually, when I say kinukontra sila ng banks,
gumagawa na sila ng sarili.
They want to make up, they want to create their own cryptocurrency.
Yun.
That is under the full control and
so medyo mabigat kasi kalaban din established institutions to mga to
We can thank fucking Alexander Hamilton for all that shit.
They want to replace yung crypto. Nasarili nila crypto. Parang ganun yung nangyayari.
Yan. Pero, yun nga, may first mover advantage sa mga nauna. So, hopefully,
parang kung yan. Parang
gatekeep nila.
Parang MLM lang din yun Sino naman nauna sa Amway? Sino nauna sa
ako naman, I would rather keep it that way na independent yung mga
mga cryptocurrency.
Yes. So, ang concern na talaga yun pagka pinasukan ng mga very big institutions, there's only two things na pwede lang gawin Either bilhin ka nila
This has been really fucking interesting. So we're gonna have to wrap this up and probably create a whole new episode exclusively for business e-commerce and cryptocurrency.
E-commerce, crypto, and big technology. Big tech.
So stay in tune. Probably in our future podcast, we're going to be talking about that in more in-depth and more creative analysis, and we'll have our expert talk about that in full. So let's move on to sports. All right,
sports. Recently, katatapos lang ng NBA natin, So, nag-champion Los Angeles Lakers, 17th championship. Tinabla nila yung Boston Celtics. Pareho na silang 17. Since ako Boston Celtics fan ako, gusto kong lagyan sana ng asterisk yung championship na to ng Los Angeles Lakers. Pero,
was it a questionable thing?
Who really cares?
No, really cares. But the thing is, did they actually win? Was it questionable?
No, it's just because yung panalo nila, sinasabi ng iba ako, I don't necessarily agree with this statement na dahil nga COVID, walang fans, so it really affected the games.
Well, fucking affected everybody, every team.
Yeah, so
Every
parang,
team.
pwede kasi sinasabi nila, pwede siguro lagyan ng asterisk tong championship na to dahil iba yung circumstances, hindi siya yung normal circumstances ng pagpapanalo mo ng championship. Pero argument yun, I don't necessarily agree with that argument. I really, actually, kung isipin mo, it's just sports. So, parang, di ba, huwag naman masyado.
So you're actually a diehard Celtics fan because it really doesn't matter on the players, but it's the team itself that you're loyal to.
Yes.
Right?
The franchise.
It's the franchise. It's the franchise itself. So it transcends the players.
Yes.
So it doesn't fucking matter if the GOAT was on the team or not, or like whatever, right?
That really doesn't mean anything to me.
That's something rare. A lot of people, like they go with
The cult of personality.
exactly.
Ikaw, Big J, ano man tingin mo din sa championship ng Los Angeles? Na-cement ba yung legacy ni LeBron as the greatest of all time?
Is he better than MJ? Do you think that he's better than MJ now? Was he able to prove his worth and his?
Alam mo, ako kasi may pagka-bandwagon niya ako eh.
Really?
No, of course not.
Of course not. I mean, you're actually the exact opposite of the fucking bandwagoner the way I know you, right?
Ang ano dyan is, kung si Pippen pa, sabi niya, parang scrimmage lang kasi itong season na to eh. It's true, di ba? They are the same place.
It was a lot faster. I mean, not as many games, right?
Yes.
Yeah, may challenges talaga. Kasi yung sabi mo, everybody's affected, di ba? So, totoo yan. Ako, walang asterisk yan. Champion eh. Di ba?
Sabi lang naman ng iba ako.
Pero hindi talaga scrimmage lang to eh. Hindi to actual na championship eh. Siguro in that sense, pwede mo lagyan ng asterisk. Pero for me, parang screen. Tama si Pippen, Scottie Pippen. Yun yung sabi niya. Kasi wala yung reverse of travel, yung home and away, fans.
Kaya so hindi siya normal. Hindi siya normal na NBA season.
Tama din sabi niya na it affects everybody naman. Hindi lang naman.
Yeah, even playing field naman yung sense.
Di ba? So,
okay, naman akong problema. Yun lang ang narinig ko sa iba, syempre, yung mga haters.
So the Lakers, so basically the Lakers' recent championship does not cement LeBron's claim to fame being the greatest of all time.
Parang hindi kasi it's really the farthest thing from my mind na para sabihin sa
Who the fuck cares, right? Who the fuck cares?
Propaganda naman lahat yun. It's a battle of marketing and PR. Pagdating sa mga
But we have the technology right now to actually find out whether who's a better player. Like, you can actually pit LeBron against MJ during his highest, during his best time in the There's like an algorithm.
Ang hirap kasi sa iras dahil sa mga changes sa rules.
Like one-on-one. If you put LeBron against MJ
one-on-one. Malaki si LeBron eh, di ba? They played different positions.
That's right.
So it's really difficult to say kung sino pinakamagaling sa lahat. It all boils down to kung sino sa tingin mo.
Actually, it's a matter of your preference.
Preference and personal opinion, right? It's like...
Siyempre, ano rin to, yabangan din ng iras to eh. Kunwari ikaw, lumaki kang Jordan ka, di ba? Medyo kinalakayan mo na gawin si Jordan, hindi maka-Jordan ka, di ba?
Hindi ma-dispute na fact. Even if na balik mo sa time niya na Bill Russell, ang point is, nung panahon na yun, is walang hand check. Hindi na pinaka-ano eh.
Alright, well, this is also for future episodes, right? So we're actually gonna put a pin in that particular topic, right? For future,
Kung tayo sa mga actually yung expert na siguro makakasagot na yung mga talagang
so we're gonna bring on some experts, some sports enthusiasts who can actually
makikipagdiinan sa'yo para paglaban yung LeBron
and then maybe
passionate sila yun, may Kobe pa isisingit.
There's also Kobe Bryant, and we also have what's his face from San Francisco, from
Curry.
Yeah, Steph Curry also. He's going to be part of that whole thing.
So, magkano tayo isang episode tungkol dyan. Actually, marami
tayo pag-usapan. There's so many things that you guys have to keep on tuning into. I mean, we've merely scratched the surface of the topics that we can be discussing. It's going to be in-depth. It's going to be...
Sabi ng mga YouTubers, mga kapatid, like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe and place your comments down below.
Kasi masyado tayo lumayo sa NBA. Meron pang PBA, di ba?
Yun.
That's right. Alright, then let's go down to the PBA, although I'm not really familiar.
Itong si producer natin.
Our producer.
Kasi Barangay Ginebra itong...
Pati na rin yung pwede natin pagpustahan. Like, sino ba dapat pagpustahan? Are there any other outfits that we can place bets? How we can actually earn money?
Basta ako, pagdating sa PBA, Ginebra lang yung team naman dyan. Wala naman iba, di ba?
Actually, ang tagal ko nang hindi nakapagsubaybay ng PBA. Ano ba ang...
Ako dati, naalala ko dati yun sa PBA, you know how much of a PBA diehard I used to be? I was with like a fraternity brother of mine, and we were at the Ultra, and we actually ran out. They ran out of fucking tickets. We fucking snuck into the bathroom of the Ultra, and we ended up in frontline tickets there just to watch a Ginebra Shell championship game because we couldn't buy any tickets. That's how much of a diehard fan I used to.
Yan ang matindi. Actually, ang team ko ng bata ako, Great Taste Tivoli.
Punta yan, tandaan mo na.
Great Taste Tivoli, Ricardo Brown, Willie Pearson, Alan Kaydi,
Di ba Añejo?
Rino, yan yung mga Abby King.
Hindi, kasi ang...
Hector Calma.
San Miguel yan.
Kasi ang naging problem din kasi sa PBA, kaya ba nakakawalang gana din minsan, is parang naging TNT San Miguel League eh. Parang alam mo yun.
Yeah, that's basically the conglomerate.
So, less competitive dahil may parang intermarriage ng mga teams na nagsaswap na lang sila ng
pinapalakas na yung teams.
Pero kung dapat lang may pag-usapan tayo, balik tayo na lang sa past ng PBA, no? Ano sa tingin mo yung tipping point na dati kasi wild yung tao sa PBA eh. Ako yung tingin ko, gusto kong sisihin yung Asian Games, yung nag-silver lang tayo. Kasi sobrang hype tayo eh. Nasabi ng mga sportscasters natin, sports journalists natin.
And we lost.
Yeah, now we will dominate.
But we lost.
Kasi, yes, PBA, All-Stars tayo, hawak ni Jaworski.
And we fucking lost.
Talagang solid na team.
Panis tayo sa China.
Pili ko yun ang pabagsak ng PBA eh.
Ako hindi.
Na doon nag-collapse eh.
Ang feeling ko maraming factors. Pero kung i-spell out ko yung number one dyan, kasi yung mga Phil-Ams.
Well, pero naman yung Asian Games.
Okay na para sa akin yung Asian Games. Kasi,
ako parang wala ako ng gana kasi nga, ito lang, bago ko matapos. Ang point ko lang na parang dati hype na hype ako sa PBA kasi nga tayong pinakamalakas sa Asia, tanggap mo na yun kasi alam mo naman, hindi mo naman malalampasan yan. Pero sa Asia, bilang dominant,
we should have been.
Sa basketball, ng time na bigla ka natalo, parang nakakababa naman.
Usually naman kasi, pag nagpadala ng pros yung PBA sa Asian Games or sa sa Asian Basketball, every time na matalo sila, talagang bumabagsak yung ratings ng PBA. But it always recovers. Yun yung tingin ko. Ang feeling ko nagpasama talaga is really yung Phil Shams. Of course, Phil Ams na legit, and I appreciate them.
Sino yan?
Are you talking about Ashley Taulava?
Medyo sensitive issue yan si Ashley Taulava dahil medyo
hindi ko alam.
May kilala tayo na siya yung nag-ayos ng papel ni Ashley Taulava, di ba?
Hindi ko alam. Basta ang purpose. Kung hindi mo siya tutuhan. I don't know. Pero kung hindi
all the Africans playing for the University of the Philippines and all the other things.
Well, allowed din sila.
Actually, it goes that way. May feeling ako at some point yung UAP na yan. Ganun din yan. Kasi once na hindi na Pinoy yung naglalaro, nag-iiba na yung nag-iiba yung kasi kung manonood lang naman akong PBA na puro foreigners yung naglalaro, inunog na ako ng NBA.
Tama.
Might as well. Because it doesn't really showcase the talent of the Philippines.
Kaya I think yung PBA okay din naman sa kanila imports eh. May limit sa dalawa, di ba?
Hindi. Given yun. Kasi kaya nga import eh. They're not trying to pass them on as local. I'll give you an example kung bakit yung Ginebra dati napaka-popular. Kasi yung mga blue collars yung mga yan eh, di ba? Distrito, Gonzalo, Mamaril.
Di, makakalik ka kasi bilang, di ba?
Kasi,
Pinaiyak.
O yun, Loksin daw na pinaiyak.
Pangalawa rin naman kasi, yung alak kasi nila. If you think about it, bakit Ginebra? Ginebra kasi yung pinakamurang alak. At
bakit San Miguel? Hindi naman mura yan ha?
Kaya nga, mahal nga yung San Miguel. Kaya mas maraming fans ng Ginebra.
Sunod na San Miguel.
Actually, yung Ginebra, kung babalik lang sa nakaraan, yung Ginebra parang blue collar, tapos yung white collar ng mga pure food.
Kumbaga parang ano yan eh, parang Detroit Pistons ang Ginebra, di ba?
Ako dahil contrarian ako, ayaw ko sa it's either left or right. great taste ako. Parang gano'n.
Wala na yung great taste, matagal na
Kaya, pinalitan sila ng Santa Lucia, tapos wala na. Kaya ulit ako, wala na akong team, di ba?
Pero yung team ko talaga mo, ba't yung PBA, hindi na ganun ka-popular simply because hindi mo na kilala yung mga yan eh.
Oo nga,
Kahit pupunta ka ng UAP pagpunta ka ng UAP, ang daming mga foreigners dyan, di ba? Diba? I mean, Pinoy din sila. I'm not trying to sabihin na hindi sila eligible sila eh. Pero yung ordinary na tao, hindi
pero
na
matindi rin yung, in a sense, matindi rin yung sinasayang collapse ng PBA dahil sa Philshams.
Oh.
Dahil, nung time na yon nung kasikatan ng mga Philshams na yan, grabe, may nag-intertwine yung parang showbiz natin, tsaka yung sports eh. Dahil nga yung mga relasyon na na-form.
Yun na-form doon. Yung mga kasi malaki TV nila. Yan ang hinahanap ng mga artistang babae.
Kasi yan yan.
That's what they want!
Yung Al Segovia, Sancho Barado, Rob Parker nung sa Santa Lucia na sobrang lakas. So, parang naging corrupt ba yung PBA in that sense na yung mga teams na dinaya nila or tentasyon yun
para trade-off doon, talagang bumagsak. Kasi yung bumagsak talaga.
Kasi parang scam yun eh. Parang skinam yung mga tao, di ba?
Kaya Pinoy ito, di ba? Kaya Philsham eh. Kaya ang pwede talaga is, ito nanonood ng ganyan. Pwede ka nanonood ng NBA. Mas magaling pa.
That's right.
Di ba? Pero kung ordinary yung...
Hindi, pero nung time na yun, ikaw bilang kunwari naloko ka, di ba ikaw naman si Uto-Uto na nanood ka, naniwala ka mga Pinoy ito. Puta sa'yo mo, may isip po tayo na, gagaling na itong mga to, no? Yung mga Pinoy na sa abroad na galing yung pala. Naglalaro na sa CBA sa US.
Mga ganun. So ako, feeling ko talaga yung nag-contribute sa more than yung unsuccessful stint sa sa mga Asian Games or yung national team. Pero tingnan mo to, yung fairly recently lang, yung nag-World Basketball, hindi itong last na World Basketball. Di ba? Supposedly, dahil medyo successful yung campaign na yun, even if isa lang panalo, yung kay Chat Reyes, dahil hindi pa rin tumaas talaga yung rating niya. Di ba? Kasi, ang feeling ko talaga medyo, wala na yung taste ng tao na sa NBA na eh.
In fact, napasok tayo ng NBA. Yung ng marketing ng NBA. Although, nag-collapse lately, tama yung mga stores dito, yung NBA stores, nag-close na lahat. Kasi mahal din yung mga produkto nila kung isipin mo. Pero yung game itself, syempre, mas walang tao.
Kung ako talaga mo, detrimental yung NBA sa game ng Pinoy eh. Kasi hindi tayo suited for ganyan eh.
And you cannot help but compare if you watch the two.
Kasi
kita mo, iba yung physicality, iba yung...
Hindi kasi they're trying to be athletic, hindi naman tayo ganun ka-athletic.
Tsaka mas naging particular tayo sa individual na...
Precisely.
So it's like having a Jewish dude like go boxing. Is that what you're talking about? Like Filipinos aren't really the athletic type or like an Indian like.
So you can only do that style of play kung napaka-athletic mo, di ba?
And that's genetic already. That's already a genetic factor.
Siguro, pwede. I don't know. Pero
so moving forward, like
hindi na tayo matangkad. Hindi na lang kasimple.
We're not as tall as we used to be.
We're actually taller. It's really more on the athleticism talaga.
That's right. Because you could be like fucking 7, like EJ File, for example. And if you compared him to like another basketball player, let's say like what's his name? The guy who played for San Miguel? Siegel. Like Danny Siegel. Danny Siegel. Danny Siegel, who was raised in the United States, was trained in the United States, and was actually brought up against like more physically in tune, or like the whole fucking program that he was exposed to was a lot better. And EJ5 was stuck here in the Philippines. It's just like the other guy, like Bunel Balinya.
Yeah.
And all the other
malaking factor din yung training, yung
competition level.
Tsaka mahirap din ito. You know what I used to fucking hate when I was a kid? Matangkad ka, doon ka lang, sa ito ko lang, hindi ka pwede mag-ball ng bola. Doon ka lang sa gitna. You're not given an opportunity to actually expound or expand your ability.
Pakuka sa isang
You're stuck.
Hindi ka din sa...
Obviously, I'm sure Big K understands how, like my sentiment there, right? Because you're a big guy too, right? And when we were playing like basketball way back, it was like, dyan ka lang, sentro ka lang, hindi ka pwede magdala ng bola, hindi ka pasa mo ka agad, hindi mo talaga,
hindi ka makapag-dribble or makapag-set plays.
Magagalitan ka pa pag nag-dribble ka lang minsan.
Dribble, lang yun di ba?
Tama naman. Kasi pag mataas yung dribble mo eh, maaagawan ka.
Ayun.
Then, small players also move faster than the bigger ones.
Well, that's true, but I mean, like, but you could see how more agile the taller basketball. Look at Michael Jordan is fucking 6'6", and he's a point guard for Christ's sake. Look at how he handles the ball.
Point guard siya dun sa lugar nila, Brad.
That's true.
So, yung mga point guard dun, kasi laki din niya. Yung mga forward dun, mas malaki sa kanya. Yung mga centro dun, mas malaki sa kanya.
But apparently the centers here, like, should not be allowed to, like, you know.
Kasi, you cannot deny that the taller you are, the higher you dribble the ball.
So,
The higher you dribble the ball,
The more susceptible you are to a steal. I understand that. So scientifically, all right. EOG is spoken then.
bakit si Magic Johnson?
There we go. Magic Johnson is 6'9".
Bakit si Kevin Durant? Di ba? Training talaga yan, bro.
Skill development.
Let's go.
I think makakahabol din naman siguro tayo, pero yun nga lang, matagal. Bago tayo
hindi tayo makakahabol.
Masyado na bang,
Unless baguhin natin yung style of play natin.
Pero isipin mo lang, si Benji Paras ng panahon niya, siya lang yung nagko-court-to-court na sentro dati, kahit makengko yung tignan.
What I'm trying to say is, yung basketball kasi is a team sport. So, kung yung style of play natin is ganito pa rin, individualistic, hindi tayo...
Kung gusto mo style Argentina style.
Wisdom yung sinasabi na huwag ka mag-dribble pag malaki ka o isang ka. Lalo na kung hindi ka naman marunong gumalaw na parang guard.
Yun yung punto ng mga sinaunang coaches na kung matangkad ka, diyan ka dapat mag-excel sa posisyon na yan. Parang ganun. Kasi diyan ka namin magagamit. Parang yun yung point.
Not really, pero doon sila train eh.
Yun.
Kung fit naman yung size mo doon, bakit mo naman itatrain yung sarili mo to play as smaller size?
Kasi nga, mawalan. Tsaka, bihira yung matangkad sa atin eh. Kaya mawalan sila ng sentro. Kung gagawin po yung sentro mo doon. Anyway, let's move on. Sabi ni producer, nanaro tayo. Sa entertainment, PH Entertainment and Hollywood.
What's the latest in Philippine entertainment?
Wala pa rin naman lumalabas ng movies dahil sa quarantine.
Oo nga, no?
A lot of movies are now shifting towards like
Nakashelve sila lahat.
to Netflix. A lot of new movies are being promoted by the online providers, right?
Streaming services.
Online streaming services.
Walang bago doon.
Ang napapansin ko lang lately, yung sobrang lakas, napaka-dominant. Dati for a time, di ba yung mga telenovelas from Mexico and Spain yung pinapanood? Korean na ngayon.
Tagal nang kita.
Hindi ko actually alam kung ano yung appeal dyan eh. Sino bang pwede I think si Big J alam yung appeal ng
The Korean telenovelas.
Telenovelas.
Well, it's just like K-pop. Like K-pop has already invaded even the U.S. market. I mean, people go crazy whenever they talk about
K-pop stars, tawag nila.
Like BTS, right? And everybody fucking goes crazy.
Pero nakita ko sa Twitter yung BTS, etc.
I'm like, who the fuck are these motherfuckers? And why is everybody going crazy over these guys, right? I'm like, alright, what the fuck do they have? I mean, it's something different, I guess.
Kaya kailangan mag-bring in tayo ng guest na makapag-explain yung popularity.
The way I see it, I mean, like, when it comes to performance-wise or when it comes to talent-wise, I think the Filipino people have the best to offer.
Of course, sa talent pa lang.
Talent-wise, I mean, like, if you think about it,
singers natin.
All those, like, singers, dancers,
Performers,
they're the ones who are winning in all of these international competitions, right? They have, like, the best. It may not be the most original, because that's always been our problem. Like, we only copy. Like, we're the best copiers. We don't really have original Filipino, artistry, so to speak. Like, we're the best, like, imitators of the singers. But what's your take on this picture?
Hindi, kasi it goes with anything else. Talagang consumer lang tayo eh. Hindi tayo producers eh.
Yung natin dahil sa colonial mentality ba?
Feeling ko rin.
It's also, alright.
Kaya consumer lang. When I say consumer, not just of goods eh, pati entertainment. Consumer lang yung goods ng, US, K-pop, British, even Japanese manga.
Pero para tayo tinawag yung mga Pilipinas ang pinakamagaling ng mga manggagaya.
Kasi consumer ka lang eh. So, since consumer ka lang, yung tendency mo is gayahin mo lang kung ano kina-consume mo. Hindi ka producer.
In fact, i-exceed pa nga natin kung yung mga ginagaya.
Pwede, kasi may talent ka eh. Pero not necessarily exceed, pero pwede. Pero I'll give you kasi it goes with anything else eh. Even products, di ba? Ultimo bigas eh, staple food, ini-import natin eh. Kasi consumer lang tayo eh, hindi tayo producer. Yun lang yun.
So, kumbaga, yung mga Pilipinas ang pinaka-banal ng mga tao.
Basta ano lang talaga, well, siguro kasama yung, I don't wanna say this, na i-generalize mo, katamaran, or ano. Siguro madala na
Indolence. The indolence of the Filipino, according to Rizal, right? Let's go back to Rizal. Ano ba sabi na sa Rizal intro? What was it called?
PI 100.
PA 100.
Was it PI 100? Naalala mo yun, Joey?
Oo, pero...
basta ako yung talaga ito.
Kapasa lang, okay na.
Maganda yung PI 100 kasi gabi yung klase mo, nila 7.
Pwede pang hindi pumasok.
Ako kasi ang dami nyo. 1,000.
Ayan na, 1,000. Nabista na na taga-UP kayo.
Dito lang kasi talaga yung... Dito ako, that's what I think. Yeah,
That's what you think.
that's for entertainment. And for everything else. Consumer tayo, hindi tayo producer.
So we lack the creativity juices in order to...
Kasi, well, not necessarily creativity. Marami din naman creative eh. Di ba? Pero hindi ka nakaka-focus sa ano. Kasi nagko-consume ka lang eh. Hindi ka producer eh. So yung creative mo is different.
Masyado tayo nag-focus kung ano yung pwede nating gawin sa meron.
Who's the hottest
Hindi yung
artist
kung ano
now?
yung meron sa wala. Hindi tayo makapagawa from something from scratch. Parang gano'n.
Kaya actually yan eh.
Pero konti. Napaka-konti.
Well, halos wala.
Anecdotal yung pwede ko sabihin. Sabihin mo, ano? Yung inventor ng hydrogen car, sa atin daw yun. Yung mga...
Pati yung ano, yung...
like
pati
the LED daw.
LED, pati yung ano, yung fluorescent lamp and all that stuff.
Pero konti eh. Hindi katulad ng mga Americans and Europeans na magaling silang mag-isip ng...
But there is this app, or there's this website that I saw, like they were comparing like who are the most beautiful faces, and then like and then they actually put in Filipino artistas. Tapos, hands down, lagi ang nananalo, abroad the prettiest or the hottest faces, that like if there was like a comparison, puro mga artista ng Pilipina, ang mananalo dyan sina...
Ito mo lang, sige, puro artista ng Pilipina, I'm sure, half-breed nyo na yan.
mga hapa.
Hindi half-breed si ano. Who's the girlfriend of that English dude? She was like, there was like...
Sige, English dude.
Okay, wait. Liza Soberano was always top one, right?
Ano yan si Liza Soberano? Anong breed niya?
Alam ko,
She has Spanish.
Amerikano yan.
Anong heritage niyan?
Amerikano yan. Amerikano yung asawa nanay mo.
Nadine Lucer was also number one. Alright, Nadine Lucer is Filipino Dini, right? I mean, wala naman halong ano yan, if you look at her, right?
Pero ano tingin mo sa kanya? Malay ba siya? Spanish siya?
Malay, like our race. Or Malay, Nadine Lucer, I mean, look at her. She has the Filipino typical look. Like, look at her, right?
Sa mga nanonood ng YouTube, ilalagay ito ng ano namin, ng producer, lahat ng mga pinag-usapan namin,
So, like,
mga pictures para
Okay.
mga taong mahilig sa mga pictures.
So, just don't forget to credit.
Pero, I'll go back to sa ganun pa rin eh. Consumer lang talaga tayo.
That's true. We are just consumers. But right now, we should create like a...
Palagay po wala lang talaga tayong facility to the producers or hindi lang.
So, hindi lang talaga yung environment natin, hindi...
What do you mean we lack the facility? We lack the capability to produce, or we lack the funding to produce? Like, what do you mean by facilities? Do you technology-based? Is it like, what do you think? All of these things.
Dahil consumer ka lang.
Yun nga, so parang sinasabi ni OG tsaka ni Big John, siguro lack of investments, siguro lack of cultivation.
So
it's
so if only our Philippine
way of things.
so
Tayong capital.
if it was our industry, if it was the Philippine showbiz industry, if people would just take a chance on it and invest in it, we would be able to produce as well.
Yun nga eh, bakit hindi? Pero bakit wala?
Kasi yung mentality kasi natin right? It's our mentality.
Hindi, kasi simple na yung sagot dyan. Ba't ako magpuproduce? Hindi mag-import na lang ako ng Korean novela sabay Tagalog ko.
Yeah, mas madali, di ba? Bayaran ko na lang yung rights nito para ipapa sa inyo. Gusto nyo naman, itatranslate ko na lang sa Tagalog, di ba?
Isang grupo lang daw kasi.
Palagay ko.
So they don't wanna veer off from like, kumikita na to, ba't pa tayo lilipat sa business?
Precisely.
If it ain't broke, why fucking try to fix it?
So,
Right?
bottom line is,
It's not even that it's broke eh. Kasi you have to look at it na hindi naman dati wala naman Korean novela. Puro naman Mexican novela. Yung ano.
di ba, for a time,
Pero point is, produce din naman tayo, pero masyado pa isa-isa. And it's not really even of good quality siguro, di ba?
Kasi
Siguro hindi lang nabibigyan ng media mileage yung mga original content creators natin.
Yun. So, kung content creators, babalik tayo doon.
Ano ko lang yung term niya, alam mo ng mga kabataan.
Obviously, pupunta ka doon sa content creators na naman. Ibig sabihin, consumer ka pa rin, di ba? Hindi ka producer. Kasi if you come up with a very good content, then you're a producer.
Yung probinsyano, hindi ba
Probinsyano. 20 years in the making na yan.
That's right. So in our future episodes, we're going to be inviting guests from the entertainment industry. We're going to be getting their input, and we're going to be getting their vital.
Pero don't get me wrong. Feeling ko kaya Kasi isa-isa kasi na maganda din telenovela na Pinoy di ba?
There are a lot. I mean,
it could be a lot. Pero hindi siya consistent
That's a problem.
Unlike yung Koreano na talaga.
Or what they do is they fucking do a remake of the same telenovela over and over again. Like it's just like what they do. How many times have we seen like the telenovela? The formula, the same thing. Yung pare-parehas lang din, pinaulit-ulit lang, tapos iniiba lang yung artista. They started out with...
Actually, yung probinsyano lang It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. All over again.
Yeah, kasi yun ang formula that worked before Wala naman
kaya nga,
producers na mag-invest sa bagong formula.
So, go with what works, parang gano'n.
And that's why Star Wars ended up that way.
Yung mga writer natin, yung mga writer natin sa TV tsaka sa radyo, isa lang. So, pag nagsulat sila ng script para sa TV, para sila nagsusulat ng script para
We should invite as one of our future guests, a writer, someone who like understands us, and we can get access to those people. I mean,
yeah.
In the future, so
invite some guests in the next.
So to all the listeners, this has been our first broadcast of Blast Radio podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. We beg the indulgence of our listeners. It may not have been as smooth or as solid as we had hoped it to be, but we hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for future broadcasts. We're going to be here for you. This is your anonymous, but definitely not oblivious moderators on the air for you guys. So thanks again for listening in. Till next time.
Thank you. Maraming salamat.